The coating durability test puts XS through a cycle of 10,000 strums. Through the lens of a microscope, it is clear that XS retains its composition better than other coated strings. Testing complete.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Ray.
How you doing?
Man, I'm great. Great to see you. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
This is John Bohlinger with Premier Guitar. I'm with Ray Benson, 9-time Grammy winner. Jeez, man.
She has a lot of bling.
That's a lot of bling. Guitar legend, producer, the whole enchilada right here. Man, I'm so glad that we can sit down and just hear you play a little bit and hear about your gear.
Well, thank you. It's all we really care about. You know, we said, why'd you get in the business? I said, to play guitar. You know?
Yeah, right. No kidding, man. That's it. Well, let's start with this cool. I've never seen this model. What is
this? Is a Collings, which was such a fantastic guitar company in outside of Austin, Texas. This is a SoCo model, which is short for South Congress, but it's a SoCo Deluxe because they just made it to my size. It's a little bigger. It's got controls in this place instead of four, like tone, volume, it's just one tone, volume, Telly-like setup.
Sure.
And it's got special Lawler pickups in it that do exactly what I tell them to do.
That's great. Well, you came in on that neck, and boy, that's just about as dreamy and jazzy as you could hope for.
And it's ebony. You know, I always loved ebony just because it's hard and it just rebounds, you know. And then the back, see, I make them take the finish off because Danny Gatton told me one time, I had a new guitar, and I said, man, it was a Telly, I think, and I said, you know, it gets sticky, and when we play outdoors, I always take the finish off the back. I think I'll use some double-aught, you know, sandpaper. Danny, what do you think? And Danny was a mechanic, you know, he had a shop, you know, there. Yeah. And he had his 57 whatever Telly, and he said, oh, hell, man, I just take the filings from under the drill press, the metal filings with all the grease, and I just rub it in a rag on the back of his thing. And he said, see all the black in the grain? He says, that's grease. I was like, so I don't have to be that careful. No, man, just get in there and rub it off.
That's great. So that's right, you were around Danny Gatton and Roy Buchanan back in the late 60s.
DC, yes, yeah, late 60s, well, 1970, starting in 1970 in the Bay Area, in the DC area. Roy was playing with Danny Denver in Bladensburg, Maryland, the Crossroads, I remember, the club, and went to see him, and he was the master of the Telly back then.
Is that what kind of got you into Tellys, hearing those guys? Was that sort of the
No,
guitar?
I bought a Telly in 1968. I bought a 67 Telly, or in 69 I bought it, and it just fit me. The reason, and I love Strats, but the middle pickup got in the way of I would sometimes use my other fingers, you know. And so I could never get that. Stevie Vaughan was a good friend of mine, Stevie Ray, and I always told him, I said, he said, well, I don't use those other fingers. He just used a pick, and he certainly could play a Strat.
He did all right.
He did okay.
Yeah, did all right.
But so anyway, Collings was so good to me. I said, and I needed X amount of from here because I use when I do my little trick with the volume control that Roy taught me, then I have to have that control exactly a certain distance from my finger. You know, in fact, when I do this, I take my ring off and get this, you know.
Right, yeah, all those old school Roy things that...
Yeah, it is one.
Right.
Before we had, you know, and so anyway, it was just, and then of course this one, which is all the, on a Telly it'll do it, this one won't do it because you can see, a Telly is a bolt-on neck, this is you know.
Yeah, it doesn't
so
quite
it just
give.
won't do that. We'll get to that with the Tele.
Yeah, right. And so I think the bridge pickup has some sort of Tele type.
Yeah, these are Lawlers. This is basically your basic humbucking. And then if I want to play, you know, Buck Owens or, you know.
Yeah.
Whoop.
Wow.
Or, you know, and then your middle pickup is like. It's a little out of phase kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then you got this. So you get the full gamut on one guitar.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. And the body you said is slightly bigger than the.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger, and it's what Tim did on the Tele.
Oh yeah, actually that's a good segue. Let's
yeah,
talk
because that seems to me, and I also use obviously J200s. I like big bottoms.
You heard it here, folks. Ray likes the big bottom. Yeah.
Baby's got back. But
very cool.
yeah, so these are the two guitars that I use on stage is the Collings, and I also have a jazz Collings, which is this is the LC Eastside. This is called an Eastside, and this is just a standard. What would you say, like a 175 kind of setup?
Okay.
You know, and it's,
Oh yeah, with the single neck.
yeah, you know, this is your single pickup. It's not plugged in, but it also is a great acoustic.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's
that's great.
fantastic. The same thing. No finish on the back.
Perfect. Love it.
And then I use the Tele I use mostly as a drop D, although I then tune it back up again. But this is Tim's great idea. And I said to Tim, I said, you know, I had a Tele, like I had a 67 Tele, and I look a picture of myself, and it looks like a mandolin.
Right,
you know, 6'7", the damn thing. And not only that is that we wanted on the neck pickup to have the bigger body gives it a little bit lower end, you know.
Yeah.
Now here's the man who built it right here.
Yeah. Tim.
And
Good to see you, man.
Gentlemen, how we doing?
Tim Shaw. All right.
How we doing?
the story is so great. Ben Jumper, who runs this place here at Soundcheck, I kept saying, man, I've been going to Fender. I've been telling them I want to build a Texas Tele, which is a bigger Tele because all the reasons we talked about. And he said, well, let me go talk to Tim over here. So Tim built this one of a kind, and you can tell him a little bit about it. Of course, we have again the same thing. It's got right where I want them, you know, that's the way Leo had them anyway, right?
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And then tell them what this does. It's a little push pull.
So we
thing.
can split the humbucker with that. It's a custom set of pickups that I wound for you.
But is that basically kind of a Shawbucker? Or
It's a Shawbucker, yeah, but it's a one-of-a-kind Shawbucker. Ray wanted a 60s Tele bridge pickup, so we've got that. And then the neck pickup was voiced to play nicely with the bridge pickup. So it's a custom wind, and it coil splits, so it goes cleaner if it needs to.
And then there's with. Gives that nice little the kind of sound I associate with a Strat, you know,
Sure.
out of phase, which you can get.
Yeah.
And then this, and this might sound, of course, a little dirty because we've been playing with, but this is where I get that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's because what's the value on this pot?
$250.
And I don't know what that means, but they had another one in there. And they wouldn't do what I wanted. You know, it's like.
So what's standard on a Tele?
250s now. There's a weird period in the, they start out as 250s. There's a weird period in the 70s when Jaguars and Jazzmasters are popular, and they go to 1 megs.
Oh,
so
really?
that 70s sound is like the really ice picky late 60s, early
Yeah.
70s. is that really ice picky bright thing. That's a 1 meg, which gives you all the top end that your dog doesn't carry.
Yeah, right.
It's 20 hertz and above. Yeah,
Yeah,
Exactly.
But you can hear it.
Ain't
But
no money up there, as Chet used to say.
Yeah.
You can get this great. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I do. It's just can do it all, man. You know, and like I say, that's your sound.
Yeah. Great. Now, getting that bigger body.
Even on the treble pickup, you can hear.
Yeah.
You know, and then you put it on, you know.
Yeah.
And this through a super, but this is a new super. It's I've used the Deluxe, but I couldn't when I want to get a little more breakup, you know. But I mean, that's what's so nice about this guitar is the low end is. I mean, you can never get that out of a normal size telly. Kids, if you want to get a big sound, get a Ray Benson. Oh, they don't make it. That's right. Oh, you can't buy this thing.
You just have to be Ray Benson.
They say, yeah. But I finger pick with it. Play country blues, you know, or
Yeah, that's great.
or you know R&B stuff, you know, yeah, chink,
Sure.
you know. Been playing a lot more with my fingers too, which is really scary. I was the same thing. Jimmy Vaughan's my pal, and I've known Jimmy for 50 years, and it's, I said, you play a lot with your fingers? He said, yeah. I said, it's just a different thing. It's so different.
Yeah.
You get to do shit like that, you know.
Right. Now, to get this bigger body, what did you? Okay, so Tim, how'd you go about doing it?
Okay, well, you know, I'd known Ray since the 70s, you know, so I was delighted to have the opportunity to do this for him. But we talked about tellies he liked, and this is Ash.
Yeah.
So, because you like the Ash vibe, like the 60s telly bridge pickup sound, what we ended up doing, this part of it is pretty normal, and it starts getting bigger out here, so we kind of stretched and enlarged the back end of it to get him more mass.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, roughly 10% bigger from the waist down, so to speak.
Okay.
They wanted the state of Texas in on it, so we actually made one, and actually made 2 or 3 and settled on that for the size. We didn't have the courage to stick it down on the guitar. We put double stick on the back of it, sent it to Ray and said, hey, you figure out where to put it.
We're
not going to do
We
it.
just left it.
Yeah.
No, it's a Texas telly, you know, and those of you at Fender at corporate headquarters, you might ought to make these suckers and sell them to every kid wants one nowadays.
Yeah. Sign me up.
It will call it the TR, T for TR Texas Telly.
There we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
But it's been wonderful, man. I've been so happy with it. And Ben Jumper, we have to thank Ben, our good pal, who commissioned the guitar. Yeah.
That's great.
But the funny thing about this is that nothing is wasted in this universe, because when we needed to do the Acoustasonic telly, we wanted a slightly bigger body. And got talking about it in the shop and went, you know, we got a drawing right here.
Oh,
So this body size ends up being the basis for the Acoustasonic telly.
really?
Yes.
It's funny because in looking at it, it looks like a normal, but yeah.
It does until you hang it next to another one.
Okay. Yeah.
Or we'll get Tim to play it. Of course, if you use this,
Yeah,
it'll be
Yeah.
down there. You know.
Yeah.
People come on the stage to jam with my guitars. They are sorely disappointed.
Oh yeah. Oh, like Lyle Lovett, that video of Lyle
Oh, yeah.
Lovett.
We had this thing where Lyle came. He says, "Hey, you know what would be funny if I dress up in your clothes?" So they put my size 16 boots on, and
Yeah, he looks like a child.
It was great, man. He's such a good pal. He has a lot of Collins guitar. He's been playing Collins guitar since Bill was building him in an apartment, you know. And
That whole Austin thing, yeah.
and he was Houston, but he moved to Austin. But yeah. It's so versatile, man. Who'd have thought that this kind of, you know, simple thing, like I say, it's bolt on, because then you can go.
Right.
You know, I don't do that often.
Yeah. So Tim, as a builder, does that bother you to see a guy really reef on your neck like that?
I expect, well, it'll take it. Let's put it that way. It will take it. It's got an ebony board, but it will absolutely take it.
Yeah, it's really amazing. You know, I have a Epiphone Custom Zephyr Regent, I believe, although they have so many names at home. Whether it's a Deluxe Custom Zephyr, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line is, it's so funny to look at because it's a Tele. It's 2 pickups with this configuration, and of course when Les Paul, that's what that was the brick. I mean the log,
right?
Where he took off the thing and said, "Oh, by the way, this is all an electric guitar really needs if you want it." And so that's why I've always said this is such a classic setup. That's why I asked him to put it on that. Now I've played Gibsons and Fenders all my life, but that's, you know, this is good for a simple band, simple setup. Right.
You always know where you are. That's hard to get lost.
Yeah, the 4. I played a 355 for years in the early '70s, and you know, first thing we did was cut the stereo out, you know, and the what was it, Veritone out. What was that? Just a bunch of capacitors.
It's resistors and capacitors and a choke. Yeah, so it just basically chops stuff.
Yeah, trying to get different tones, I assume.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the good news, I have a picture of Eric Clapton playing it, so I think it's a valuable axe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's cool.
He came down to jam one night years ago, and somebody took a picture, thankfully. But as I got older, I just came back. I went back to Teles, you know, and just And so they built me just a different kind of Tele.
That's great. Now, what strings do you run on?
Pretty heavy on the bottom, 50, 54, and then 12 or 13 on top, because I got
12, 14, 17, 36,
52.
12 through 52.
Yeah.
Sam, thank you. Got Sam over there, your answer guy.
He plays better than I do, but I can really bend, you know, so I don't have to need slinky. And Stevie Vaughan always, you know, he tuned to E flat, but he used very heavy strings because they get better sound. And,
The other thing that people forget now is that all these guitars originally were strung with big strings.
Yeah, flat wounds
so,
probably.
You know, until you do that, you're not really hearing some of these original guitars the way they were designed.
Well, that's it.
Were they flat wounds or no? Sometimes, yeah.
A lot of times, yeah, but there were 12s. A lot of these things.
Yeah, yeah. You need sustain and a bigger string. And like I say, I got claws, so I can bend. You know, and that's the thing I think.
Yeah.
And I love
those big strings aren't slowing you down. Well, so really your setup is about as simple as you get.
Oh yeah.
You got a Tele, you got a couple Tele, you got a Tele-ish type hollow body, a proper jazz guitar, and you run through a super or a deluxe depending on the size of the room, basically.
Yep, basically, yeah.
And then your pedal board could not be more modest.
Well, you know what Red Volkart, old Red calls he calls them tone reducers.
Yeah, right.
And so,
totally.
And I'm not a session player, and I don't have to, I don't have to get a sound for the lead singer. You know, and I understand why people have all that. I just do it. I got size 17 feet, and they just clumsily play.
Yeah. You just need to sound like Ray.
And I can make myself sound like the 3 or 4 different things I want by use my hands. You know, and
so all you've got here is this
tuner.
Big old Boss stage tuner, which is so big you can see that from outer space. That's great.
And a Big Shot. That just makes switches between these 2 guitars. You know.
That's great.
And then when I do acoustic.
Oh yeah. Let's look at this. So
that's a J200.
Right.
And it was a good J200, but it wasn't special. And a guy, Gibson, I'd done something for Gibson. They gave it to me, and I was in England, and a fellow named Kerry big fan. Said, I'm a leather worker. I'd love to make a guitar. Well, he took my original prototype for a guitar that was made, Ray Benson model guitar, many years ago by Samick and Valley Arts. Did.
Yeah, the Tele-ish type.
Texas Tele, yeah. And it wasn't a Tele. It was an attempt at it, but it was a really trashy guitar. That the custom ones were great.
Yeah.
You know? And then of course then they went to Korea and made.
Yeah, I remember seeing when on that George Strait tour. Seeing you play that back then.
They were very good guitars, and then so anyway, he took one of them, and it's in another museum. It's a yellow rose guitar. It's all hand done leather that he painted yellow rose in Texas all over. So I said, hey, take this thing. I hadn't been doing it, so he put the cover on, and it's the great. Well, listen to it.
Now, what pickup are you running in there?
It's a Rich Barbera transducer.
Yeah.
A Ridge Barbera.
Rich
Barbera transducer. Cow.
And I can finger pick, obviously.
Right. Did you, when you got it back with that leather on it, did you feel like it, I mean, like plugged in, it sounds amazing.
I know, and even acoustically.
Did it change the tone?
Totally. It deadened the top, which is what you need for an electric acoustic.
Huh.
It's the same thing, that you find out what works, and that transducer worked great, but
yeah.
it's just, so and it was just a surprise, believe me.
Yeah.
I'd been playing the Guild over there, which is a fabulous, there was one of the ones that when they made them in Connecticut or somewhere.
Yeah, you bet.
But this thing just...
So this D55, so that is kind of your go-to, and this is your secondary?
Yeah, they both are great, and if I have a different tuning, I'll tune this one to the different tuning and then just leave it. I sometimes used to use the Dad-Gad tuning, and...
yeah. God, that sounds...
I know,
great.
It just killed me. I was like...
Yeah, what a happy accident.
I thought it was just going to be Elvis that had it.
Right. Yeah, it looks so cool. Who cares what it sounds like? Right.
And what's great is that, it says, first of all, I had a pair of boots that matches that.
Oh, that's great.
He took this from a pair of boots, and it says, asleep at the wheel. It says, Western swing ain't dead, it's asleep at the wheel. And so it's so cool to have this guitar because, I mean, this is, I'll tell you a story about leather-covered guitars, though. In 1973, we went down to Mississippi, or was it Arkansas? Anyway, and we went, and Fred Carter, who was a session player, and Dina Carter's dad, but he was a session player in town, he said, you need to go to this motel, and we called it Rock and Roll Heaven, but it had a name. It's long gone. He said it's where we all used to stay, and I slapped myself for forgetting the town. I'll come back. Where Conway Twitty, the band, Levon, the band, Ronnie Hawkins, they all stayed at this motel while they gigged around the Gulf Coast area back then. And I walk into the motel room. On the left side is a J45 with leather covering that says Conway Twitty, and then there was a Gibson, leather-covered Gibson electric thin body. It said Ronnie Hawkins on it, on the thing, and that's where that's where they all stayed, and where King Biscuit Flower Hour was filmed.
Oh, that's right.
Down there, John Huey was from there, etc. And I'm just blanking on the name, but y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I haven't heard the King Biscuit Flower Hour forever. Man.
This is the original one where Sonny Boy Williamson played, and they sold flour. And, so anyway, leather-covered guitars, Elvis, of course, had the famous one. But, I've got the other one, which is just beautiful. And, thank you, Kerry. He's a bus driver in England whose hobby was leather work.
God, that's great.
And I use it, I can do, jazz stuff with it. could get a job at a lounge. You know?
Right. So so when you're going down the road in the bus, is this the one you play going down the road?
No, I use one of those carbon fiber guitars because you can't break it.
Yeah, right.
And when on the bus, first of all, people get sometimes they get high or drunk on that bus.
I've heard.
Just people,
I've
and
heard that
they'll
happens.
take the guitar and sometimes drop it.
Yeah.
Those carbon fiber guitars are incredible.
They'll take it.
You can put them in a 115-degree trunk. They don't even go out of tune.
They love it.
Play them in the rain. So that's what's on the bus because of that. We used to have the guild was on the bus, and it started getting knocked around. I said,
Sure.
that ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
So that's it. Yeah, we are very fortunate. I've got lots of great guitars in the studio at home.
Over, 50 years. A single wheel's been around for 50 years.
I wish I kept a lot of the ones that I had sold.
Oh, God, I bet.
Gretsch White Falcon original back I had in the 70s for $500. Strats for $250.
Yeah.
Kellys and this, that, and the other. But we kept mostly the guitars we use.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of old Epiphones, the Epiphone Custom, I think an Epiphone Triumph, is that the acoustic? Yeah. Custom Zephyr Regent. I got some good funky ones with the Barkasbury pickups, Stratotone, Harmony Stratotone.
Sure.
That's down and dirty, wonderful guitar. And of course, I got a 57 Martin, the D28 that is just your flat picker's dream.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm the worst flat picker around, but I can strum it. And there's the jazz guitars are fun. They're arch tops, but I just always got Epiphones, and they were inexpensive, and I loved their sound. They had a little more top end than Gibsons, than the L5s, etc. So I had all them. What else we got, Sam? Over there, we got a bunch of Collings and.
Got an ES5.
Oh, my ES5. God, I've had that. I bought that for $300, but it's so fast. It's one of the fastest necks I've ever seen. I can hardly play it, but can't hardly part with it because they're so rare. Those three pickup Gibsons.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And other than that, I also collect a lot of non-pedal steels. I've got bunches of them. We just picked up the strangest guitar ever, the Magnatone. I'm not sure what it's called. It was only 10 of them made or something. Centromatic. It's a 6-string, and it's got solenoids. You push 6 different buttons, and it changes the tunings. But the whole thing goes like this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was built in 1950. Magnatone. It only was, I think, 8 or 9 were built or something.
So, are you always guitar hunting when you're touring?
I had to quit. Yeah. Yes, but like yesterday, Sam says was over at Carter Guitars. Goes, hey, there's a couple of Epiphones over here. I went, no.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah, no, we have so many to play, and so many just sit there, and I go, God, we haven't even changed the strings on that thing. So we have the ones that we use for recording. I have Buck Owens gave me one of the red, white, and blue tellies, the Japanese, that is just phenomenal. We use that in the studio because it is basically it's a 57 telly, with the exact same things that Buck always had, and it's red, white, and blue sparkle, but it just sounds perfect for the telly sound. And
yeah, that is the gold standard of the telly tone right there.
It's got the same thing. It's got the 3-barrel, on the brass on the thing, and that's just that's a combo that makes that sound. Yeah. And so we have that. And a lot of steel guitars, triple neck National, double neck Nationals, single neck Rickenbacker, just because and I've got old amps. I got a 1938 Dobro amp that is so rare. People I've shown it to only seen pictures when we use it on the records. Chris Scruggs used it the other day, and I've got an old National amp, with the National shield on it,
Cool.
And because we have quite a nice studio with all good vintage gear, and when we're trying to make Western swing songs of the 40s and 50s, we just use the same gear they were using.
Right, right. Well, and as luck would have it, we've got Cindy Cashdollar here, so we'll cover some steel stuff with her too.
Absolutely, and she came to me when she joined the band, as she was a dobro player, and she had just started learning. Knot and pedal steel. and of course turned into one of the great stylists on the steel. She has her own sound, her own way to go to her own acts. And it's a different instrument. It's not a pedal steel. It's trying to explain to people what it is. I think we'll get into that. But yeah, we feel very fortunate to have been able to design guitars, get guitars built. It's such a, like I said, to have a guitar with your own name on it is certainly something every guitar player would just love. And I'm very privileged and humbled because there are a whole lot better guitar players than I am.
Ray, you're a big deal, man. You're a big deal.
Thanks,
9
John.
Grammys. Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 Grammys. Sorry.
Well, the 10th one I didn't win. We won for the people who did the art on our Still the King record.
Well,
so I didn't get a statue, but we'll say.
We'll say 10. We'll round it to 10.
Trying to beat old Frank Sinatra is tough.
Yeah, Frank, you're right. Ray, thanks, man.
John,
Such a
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Love your show, and
thank you.
Keep the guitar nerds happy.
Yeah, nerd on.
Summit Ridge Drive.
Love it. Hey, now we're with Cindy Cashdollar. Cindy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, love your work. Love sitting next to you and hearing you play.
This is a great thing, you know, for people to actually see what kind of gear people are doing, and
right, to kind of watch the magician put the rabbits up their sleeve.
I think that's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
It just came to me, but
okay.
Let's start with this very cool guitar. Now, I've watched you for years, love your work, and I've seen you with different instruments, and this looks like something I haven't seen you with before. Tell me about it.
Yeah, this is a non-pedal steel guitar, which was used a lot in Western Swing, and why I have it here now, because I'm touring with Western Swing band Asleep at the Wheel for the 50th anniversary tour. And so before the pedal steel came along, they had 6-string lap steels. I think Bob Dunn was the first person to use a 6-string lap steel that was with a pickup for recording. But they eventually put more strings on. So this is a non-pedal steel guitar, 8 strings on each neck. This neck here, furthest away from me, is an E13 tuning. And this neck here is in C6 tuning. And there's hundreds of different tunings, but these are the ones I use. This steel, I also have a vintage Fender Doubleneck, but this is a SteelMaster that was made by Herb Remington. Herb Remington played steel guitar for Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys.
Wow.
And so when he started to retire, he got into building steels, and the cool thing is it's really lightweight. The vintage steels are very heavy. And so Herbie and I talked about that a lot. So it's got George L pickups, and I had them wound to Fender spec. And then here is Herb's personalized nameplates for me. But I love this steel. It's great. Yeah.
And I love the way you jump between the necks like that. So controls are just pickup?
Yeah, it's 2 pickups and volume and tone. Really easy.
Are both necks on all the time?
No, actually, you can have it wired that way because a lot of the vintage steels were. I choose not to because there's a lot of noise. And this is so fast that in the middle of a solo, I can jump from one neck to the other. Right. Which is great. You know, it's no big deal because these two tunings are so different, and they're each great. You know, and I love the difference between them. So that's the great thing about that. The old Fender steels, for an example, it had some of them had push button switches on, which were very noisy and clunky. So this is just like a tele switch, very, very basic.
Yeah, you really, I mean, you can switch back immediately in like a thought.
The strange thing, it's like there's so much difference, obviously, between non-pedal steel and pedal steel. But to me, this is more physical. It's like you're moving, if you choose to, between different tunings. You know, I had a 3-neck and a 4-neck steel.
Wow. I bet carrying around that 4-neck was a challenge.
The 2-neck is enough, thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, as the pedals evolved, it is so amazing because your foot and your brain does all the work with the pedals, stepping on them in combinations to produce different chords, while your bar just remains here, and knee levers as well. Whereas this, I think, is more physical than pedal steel. Do I play pedal steel? No.
And you started on dobro, right?
I started on dobro, and then 6-string lap steel, and then took this up as a hobby, really. Kind of late in life.
That hobby paid off all right.
But I would say asleep at the wheel. It was like Western Swing boot camp. But I did take lessons from Herb Remington. I took lessons from Maurice Anderson, who also played with Bob Wills, and John Ely, who was the steel player for many years before me in the wheel.
Yeah.
So anyway, you eventually find your way around. The bar that I use is it's a John Pierce lap steel bar, 3/4 size.
It looks tiny.
This is so great. It looks small, but to me it's the perfect weight. I've tried quite a few different bars. I mean, it's a personal thing, obviously, but it fits perfectly over the 8 strings, and I use it for lap steel too. But I love the way that it's weighted. Yeah. That's through Breezy Ridge Instruments. Thumb pick is a John Pierce called the Vintage, also from Breezy Ridge. I use John Pierce strings, which is great. You can get single string in any gauge that you want, and then Acri finger picks.
Huh, I've never seen those.
They're comfortable, and they don't make your fingers green, and they don't leave little tiny impressions around here.
Acri, how do you spell that?
ACRI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, they look like the finger picks of the future.
They do.
Yeah.
I got Area 52 on my fingers.
Right.
They kind of look like UFO. Anyway, they're great.
Yeah, that's great. Now, is that volume and tone down there?
Yes, volume and tone. And the cool thing is, Speedy West, to me, he was like the Jimi Hendrix of the steel guitar.
Right.
Speedy
Jimmy
West
Bryant.
and Jimmy Bryant, right?
Yeah, amazing.
So Speedy did all of this stuff. Let's see, I'll put it on here. The boo-wah, boo-wah, you know, which sounds different on the other tuning. So Speedy also had a doorbell that he used to get the pop, 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 pop.
Really?
Yeah, or you can do this. Oh yeah, Speedy was amazing. So I did, Herb Remington did put a doorbell on the first steel that I got from him, but I just found that it was too quick a response. I felt like I had no control.
Wow, I love that whole percussive thing you're doing there.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool.
Tricks, hijinks, steel guitar hijinks.
What's amazing how many, I don't know, like kind of sonic little tricks you can get just with the instruments. No pedals, which is actually a good segue to your pedal board, which is really modest. This one is.
Yes.
Now, this is a new board, right?
This is brand new.
Like a tiny little.
Teeny weeny.
You're playing the Opry tonight, so it's like
Yes.
a tiny little Opry board.
Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah. I mean, to me, we can get into my second pedal board in a bit, but
let's talk about this little.
Just for steel guitar, to me, this is all I need.
Yeah, what do you have here?
With playing this genre of music, like I'm not going to use an overdrive pedal, I'm not going to use compression, but all I have, it's so simple. It's just a tuner, and it's a Boss delay.
Yeah, the DD3T.
Yeah, very clean, which is why I want it. You know, I like a lot of headroom, very clean sound. If I want overdrive, you know, you can get it, but I like clean. And then I have the electro-harmonix tuner, which is great. It's really easy to read.
Yeah, that is a great readout.
It is,
And
and
it's
very
tiny.
important, because I'm always like that,
Right.
and so, and probably, of course, standing up further away, but it is very easy, very simple, very accurate readout. And then I've got the Voodoo Lab pedal power on here, because I need 24 watts to power, especially my Telonics volume pedal.
Yeah, tell me about that.
We can get into it. I'll just move over here while we're talking pedals. So one more pedal. This is made by Durham Electronics, Ellen Durham and Austin, all hand wired. I have quite a few of his pedals, but this is called the Sex Drive, and it's
Sounds
like
sexy.
It is. I call it the Wonder Bra of effect pedals, because it lifts everything.
All right.
It really does. It's,
All about it.
It's a clean compression. It's got a soft and hard compression. You can choose to have it off. It's got a really nice tone sweep. If you want a little bit of transparent overdrive, just a little bit, you can crank up the gain knob a little bit. But this is a really nice clean boost pedal. And then the Telonics volume pedal, it's a multi-taper, and it's really amazing. On the side here, you can set the taper, and it's a low profile volume pedal. But you can, they at the factory, Dave Beatty, will ask you what kind of footwear you usually play
Really?
with. And I love cowboy boots. He even asked me, well, what kind of heel is on your cowboy boots? And he will set the volume pedal for you. But
Wow.
once you get it, you can set the taper,
It's great.
which is great. So, some people like a media volume. I like it a little bit, and this is so amazing. You can just set it and leave it there too. It's great. It doesn't fall back down.
Right.
That's how great
Yeah,
that is, right?
yeah.
Okay, but you can set the taper to be very gradual. But no matter what you set it with, it's very smooth, really smooth. It feels so incredible. There's also an input impedance on here, so you can match your pickups with your amp, with everything, so you're not overloading anything. And it's so clean.
That's
This is
great.
why this makes everything clean. There's nothing disrupted in the signal chain, and I just love it. It's great.
With that great volume pedal, do you find yourself using the volume up here at all, or just
No.
kind of never touch it?
Never touch it.
Yeah.
No. I'll touch the tone knob to do that,
Yeah,
thing I was
love
doing.
that.
But now the volume just stays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So
Now-
this is very, it's like not hypersensitive. I mean, you can do that if you want, but I just prefer something that is just very smooth, very easy, just gradual, not immediate, but it's very quiet. Once it's off, it's off. There's no residual sound to it.
That's great.
Yep.
That's great. Hey, do you mind putting on that sexy pedal? I want to hear
No.
the before and after.
Okay. It's a
I got to hear
bit-
this sexy pedal. Yeah.
It's this was made initially for Charlie Sexton,
Oh, well, there you go.
who's
Just a sexy guy.
sexy guy,
Sexy Austin guy.
right? Sexton, sexy
Yeah.
guy, playing with Bob Dylan, and he wanted a clean boost pedal that did just this. There's never any popping when you turn it on and off, and I don't know if it translates that well. If you'll hear a bit of a difference here, but if I had my lap steel, you would hear it. But yeah, I'll play a little bit. You can see. So that's off.
Oh, that's off.
Yep. Off.
Yeah, great. It's
Right?
very subtle, but kind of gives a little spark. And
Right. Now I'll put some compression on there. And see if you can hear anything. See, and then you get a little drive.
little grit. Yeah.
If you want, you can get a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. That
Yeah.
low down tone. That's great. Too cool. Well, that's
And,
about as simple as it gets. So let's talk amps, right? I've in the past I've seen you've been playing Fender amps.
I love Fender. I've got a Hot Rod Deluxe. I have the Steel King
Oh,
with
yeah,
the
yeah,
15.
right.
Nice, clean
Yeah.
transistor. I've got a Fender Twin Tube, and the greatest thing, the new Fender Twin.
Oh yeah,
the ToneMaster,
Those are amazing.
which weighs about 34 pounds,
God, right.
which I love.
Yeah.
It sounds, to me, it sounds as warm as their tube amps.
Yeah,
I can lift it up with one hand.
right.
I love it.
Yeah.
It sounds incredible. I think Fender's doing amazing stuff, as
Yeah,
they
they're-
always have.
they're nailing it.
And so I use those amps in different configurations, usually with all the instruments I just explained to you. But for the steel only, because it's so clean and has so many great components, I use the Telonics amplifier back
Oh,
here.
okay.
15-inch speaker. You can have a 12-inch if you want, but it's got so much headroom. It's 500 watts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you can drown out a drummer if you need to.
Yeah, well, you don't want to do that.
But if
You can, if you wanted to and you needed to,
Yeah.
you could. But this has so many features on it. It's just, it's really amazing.
That's great.
I mean, it just, you could go on for days. But I mean, Dave Beatty and the Telonics people, this is so incrementally thought out. So you've got your regular, boost gain. You can EQ every aspect of it. It has wet, dry send in the back, which is why I'm going into return send in the back for the
Oh.
cleanest signal.
That's great. Yeah, so
Yeah.
your delay's going through the,
It's going through the amp to get the
Okay.
cleanest signal, because in the past with other delay pedals I've had, for some reason they all overdrive the steel.
sure.
And a little bit with the Resophonic too, and I think because it's just where it sits in the chain. But
Yeah.
with this amp, you have that option.
That's great.
Yeah. So you could just, there's so many EQ that you could do on here. You can EQ it to pretty much anything that you want. It's all there for you. It even has, you can even like practice with your iPhone or headphones
Oh,
if
that's
you
great.
want.
Oh, yeah,
and you can
headphones, yeah.
send it directly for recording directly to the board.
Oh, that's great.
And it also has an effect that I know a lot of pedal steel players like to use for, it can sound like a Resophonic guitar.
Huh.
And it comes with a special bar too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like the old cat can
Oh, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of effect.
Like the,
Only much, it's better.
Like that Jeff Surratt cat
Yes.
can, yeah.
Yes. And it's just got, and also the light, it's got a nice light there, but you can also choose to have that bright or dim.
Wow, they did think it through.
Yeah.
Did it take you a while to
everything.
kind of, with all those EQ and options, did it take you a while to kind of make friends with it and
Oh
find your
yeah,
tone?
I mean, Dave Beatty, I think it was 2 hours on the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Just
he
like-
went through every single, well, before I got it, we had a long talk and he guessed exactly, I would say almost exactly the settings that he thought I would want to use
Really?
with non-pedal. Yeah, and so it pretty much came like that. The one thing I had to really play with a lot was the mids,
Yeah.
where to set those. That was a bit of an operation. But the manual that comes with it is very good, and there's very personalized service there. So
That's great. Because
Yeah.
when you come from that Fender world where it's all just so simple
It
and
was-
intuitive, that's like a spaceship.
it was mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Yeah.
Just I'm just used to
Because
your basics.
Right, because your whole rig is so simple, and then you get to
Yes.
the Millennial Falcon, and it looks a lot more complex.
Yeah, I know. You probably get close-ups and see all the features that I might be missing as I'm speaking about this.
Right.
But Yeah, pretty much there's everything is thought of there. And I love the fact that if people want a 12-inch speaker, you can get it that way too.
Yeah, although the 15 is so sweet.
Yeah, well, I think for steel,
Yeah.
you know, it's needed. Although, you know, I've played through the Fenders, had the 15s. They made the twins with 15s forbidden, and also the Steel King, which I don't think is manufactured anymore, but that was also, I think, effective to handle all the low mids, especially that you will get with some of the tunings, I
Right,
think.
right.
You know, even on my acoustic slots with the pickups, to be
Yeah.
able to handle all those lows and the open C and the open D tunings.
Because that C6 gets low and rumbly.
Well, the way there's so many different C6, but from the top, this is G, E, C, A, and repeat. That's my C6.
Yeah.
E13 is the one that's got the,
Oh, yeah.
right? So that's a low E.
Yeah.
And,
It
you know,
sounds
it's,
lower.
It does. It kind of feels lower too, you know. But yeah, so this is E, for anybody out there that wants to know, E, G sharp, D, F sharp, another G sharp, B, C sharp, E.
It just seems so arbitrary.
So between this and that,
Yeah.
you have to have a clear head for operating.
Yeah. There's some stuff going on
There's some
there.
stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cindy, I love your work. I'm so
Thank
so
you.
grateful you could come and hang with us.
This
and
has been very fun. Thanks for having me.
fun, right? It's
Yeah.
all about fun here at Premier
Thanks.
Guitar.
It's been great.
Catch Cindy on the road. Catch her out there with a Sleep at Will for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah. Can you believe?
I can't believe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ray
Amazing.
Benson at the helm for 50 years.
God, man. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I know. He's a I don't know, just an American treasure. It's so cool.
Yes, he's kept this music alive for many, many years.
Yeah.
So it's a nice tradition to carry on.
And you were like a kid when he hired you.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still are a kid.
I
for
would
the
say,
record.
yeah, 38 would say, I felt like a kid then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been fun, and it's nice still after all these years to still get the chance to work with he and the band. He's got a wonderful band and the
you
alumni.
are amazing. I mean, to hear that band in full flight is just, I mean, it's incredible.
It's been a lot of fun having the alumni along too. But yeah, I think we'll wrap this portion of the tour up at the end of this month for the 50th, and then I'll go on to, I work with a lot of different people.
Oh, yeah,
CindyCashdollar.com.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, till next time.
Thanks so much.